Every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight, or it could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. Now, I'm not reading this the way they do in a show. You know who reads this in a TV show? Boris Karloff. He's the guy that played Frankenstein. And again, I don't know what we were doing to kids back then, but if you've watched the show, it's pretty scary. If you read the book, it's all the little furry creatures. If you watch the TV show, he makes some demonic-looking faces. And at this point where it says his head was screwed on too tight, he does like this exorcist thing and his head goes all the way around. Really weird, but you know, I'm going to please his kids. So, it says it could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right, but I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. But what I would suggest is that there are some people today that hate Christmas. They just don't like it at all. And I would suggest today that that is also a heart issue, not a physical heart, but just an issue of the heart. And I'm not talking about the people who just don't celebrate Christmas, because there are people of other religions that don't celebrate Christmas, and it makes sense. We don't celebrate some holidays that other religions do because we're not of that religious faith. And I'm not talking about the political people who say, you know, Christmas and, you know, state things, government things should all be separated. I'm not talking about them, because the reality is today, those people are out Christmas shopping. They're putting up Christmas trees. They're putting up Christmas lights. They're going to take the Christmas holiday off, and they're going to buy gifts for people. And even though they say it should be separate, they're going to celebrate Christmas. But the people who are out there who actually, they just hate Christmas season. They're just not happy about people giving gifts and celebrating the birth of Christ. And here's the thing. Some of those people are actually Christ followers. And here's the thing. If you search this on the internet, and I found this on the internet, so that means it's true. Okay. If you search this on the internet, it will tell you that the number one reason, especially amongst Christ followers, why they say that they don't want to celebrate Christmas, number one reason is they say it's not biblical. They say that the Bible doesn't tell us to celebrate the birth of Christ. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, it sounds like the shepherds and the angels rejoiced and celebrated the birth of Christ. It sounds like they were celebrating and rejoicing because Christ had been born. And if they did it, doesn't it make sense that if we are Christ followers, that we would celebrate and rejoice it too? The birth of Christ was God's affirmation that, hey, you know what? I do care about you. It was God's confirmation that I will keep my word to you. Not just to you, Israel, but to humanity. To all who are willing to receive it. It was God saying that despite your circumstances, despite how long you think you have been waiting, despite what you're going through, I will show up. That's worth celebrating. That's worth rejoicing about. And I don't know if you've ever been without a job, but I know once when I was without a job and I finally got a job, I celebrated. I called people up. Hey, I just got a job. Dinner's on me. I didn't get paid yet, so it's only McDonald's, but still, come rejoice. Celebrate with me. When we get engaged, we have engagement parties to rejoice and to celebrate. When we get married, we have weddings and receptions to rejoice and to celebrate. And we celebrate the birth of our children. Now, you may not remember it. I know I don't. But when you were 1 year old, your parents probably dressed you up, invited people who you couldn't even recognize, invited them to come over, sing songs to you while you dribbled on the presents. Because they wanted to celebrate and rejoice in the birth of their child. So why shouldn't we celebrate and rejoice in the birth of Jesus Christ? Amen. Now the Bible tells us that Jesus said that when you pray, pray in this manner. And as he goes through that prayer, he says that God's will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. In heaven, there is nothing that happens that is not God's will. There's no evil. There's no mistreatment of people. Everything that occurs in heaven occurs because God desires it to be that way. The angels rejoiced at the birth of Christ. And if we want God's will to be done on earth, then we can likewise rejoice at the birth of Christ. It is biblical to celebrate the birth of Christ because that's what heaven did and that's what people on earth did.